Hello, I got a pretty simple question. Current gen game engines, for their fault, are the most able to scale across different hardware, modern hardware, than they've ever been, but graphics can only be scaled down so much before a game is not worth playing on a given platform anymore. And the way a game is designed, especially big simulated open world games, can still require decently powerful hardware to function at all. So basically, in your opinion, any chance of a Switch 2 version of GTA 6? I don't think so. Early days, of course, conjecture-wise, but it just looks as though there's a lot of prerequisites in place for GTA. For example, Ray Trace Global Illumination. I can see that possibly being done, but for the handheld mode, yeah, CPU-wise, still a bit of an unknown quantity on Switch 2. But, the simulation stuff that we're seeing in GTA 6 based just on the trailers is quite phenomenal. And if that's going to be pegged to 30 FPS on the current generation consoles, as we kind of suspect it will, then, that poses big problems for Switch 2. I think there's plenty of money Rockstar can make simply by doing Red Dead 2.
Or GTA 5.
First of all. GTA 5. There's a lot of, they never did GTA 5 for the Switch 1, which I guess is quite kind of indicative. So, yeah, I think there's probably other options Rockstar would want to go down first. Maybe like the PC version of GTA 6 before they get to Switch 2. Oliver, is there any world in which you can see this happening? I'm struggling to conceive of it, to be honest.
Well, it's a game that appears to be built around RTGI and RT reflections. And the RT reflections, they're applying it to most glossy surfaces and a lot of semi-gloss surfaces. And there are a lot of glossy surfaces in the game. Plus, it's using like really high resolution shadows in some places. It's using, the LODs look pretty good. I don't know if they're using a continuous LOD system, but the LODs that are out into the distance look very, very good there. So I think scaling it to Series S and having it look visually convincing is going to be a big challenge. Scaling it to Switch 2. Come on, that's a lot. It's a lot to ask for a game with this level of ray trace lighting fidelity to work well on Switch 2. And I'd also worry about the CPU side of things because, they could probably figure out a way to get the graphics on there running at some kind of playable level, even if they had to cut out a lot. They could probably figure out a way to get that running because graphics aren't inherently quite scalable. But on the CPU side, with a fraction of the performance of the PS5, is that good enough? That's not pretty. It's kind of like, theoretically, maybe, like getting GTA 6 to work at 60 FPS in the consoles. That's kind of the margin of performance they need to be operating at for a 30 FPS Switch 2 port. Maybe even more ambitious than that, potentially, in terms of the divergence there. So I think that's probably pretty unlikely on the whole. And given Rockstar's track record, I think they like to port games to Switch when they have a version of the game that actually does work for Switch. Like with LA Noire in 2017, that Team Bondi game, they ported it over to Switch. Very similar to the PS3 version. Again, Red Dead Redemption 2 in, I think, 2023. Or Red Dead Redemption 2. Red Dead Redemption 1 in 2023.
Yes.
That was, again, materially quite similar to the 360 version in a lot of respects. That was ported to Switch, and that ran quite well. So this time around, I'd expect maybe GTA 5. That would be more realistic.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure you concur with that, Alex, right?
Yeah, just some other things that even doubt the GPU scaling. CPU, I think, is, if it really is going to be 30 FPS like I expect it to be, I think that's a non-start in the first place. But just like GPU scaling. So in the trailer, we saw everyone's hair being like this strand hair system.
Oh, yeah.
That's probably expensive to run. It probably has a fixed cost. Oliver talked about it in that video. And then, so what do we do about this GPU system that we've made all this art for every single person in the game based upon it? Do we ship it and just doesn't scale the Switch and it runs at 18 milliseconds each frame or something like that every single time one character's on screen? Do we degrade it to the point where it doesn't look like hair anymore? Do we make entirely different hair assets just for Switch? Too, not everything scales as gracefully as we would love always to ultra low power platforms. And there's certain amount of things, like there's no dropping of res that can save that. So I really don't think, surprised me. Cool, that's really cool. But I really don't think this
Yeah.
is their target. This is probably not their target at all.
Also, just like a lot of the sims that we see in the game, obviously a lot of the physics, a lot of those, like, you know, the beer bottles with the water sloshing around, you know, the liquid sloshing around, like all that stuff that's just everywhere in the game. That stuff, whether it's running on the CPU or the GPU, it's just not going to scale necessarily to low resolutions either. And yeah, the
they
hair.
just turn it off.
Yeah, I don't know if they would make like a totally different. I mean, maybe they have a hair card system in there for like NPCs, but they'd have to do that for. They have to do something for the main characters. They'd have to do something crazy there, right? So that seems like it would be an incredible amount of effort that I think, historically speaking, Rockstar has not wanted to do for their ports, right?
Mm-hmm. No. Yeah, and it's not, as I said, it's not as if they haven't got a catalogue of games that are more ideally suited to the system that would make them a massive amount of money. So, yeah, I think it's a bit of a non-starter. I mean, when the PC version comes out, we can break out the RTX 2050 again.
Have
see
some
what
fun.
happens.
I bet it doesn't launch due to memory. I seriously.
Oh, yeah.
Well, I do actually have an RTX 3050 laptop GPU that is within a desktop shell and has 8 gigs of memory. That's quite fun to experiment with, but it does have like twice the memory bandwidth of the 2050. Not much I can do about that. So, but even so, you could get an idea of what GTA 6 on a ridiculously lower clocked Ampere GPU would be like. And just as a bit of fun, maybe we'll do it. But we're talking about potential simulations for a version of the game that probably won't be out for at least 2 years.
Yeah.
So, yeah. You know, don't hold your breath.